My beloved child, listen closely, because what I am about to reveal is not ordinary, and it did not happen by chance. Today, your name was spoken in a place you could not see, in a conversation you could not hear, yet its weight reached heaven itself. Your person sat with their brother, pretending calm, pretending strength, but the moment your name entered the space, everything shifted. Their voice slowed, their breath changed, and the truth they have been hiding from the world slipped out in fragments. This was not gossip, not casual talk, but a confession wrapped in hesitation. Heaven watched silently as words were chosen carefully, because deep inside, they knew that once spoken, nothing would ever feel the same again. Hear this now, because the first thing they admitted was not what you expect. They did not speak of distance or pride, they spoke of impact. They confessed that your presence altered their life in ways they never prepared for, that you entered quietly yet rearranged everything inside them. To their brother, they revealed how your absence echoes louder than noise, how even simple moments feel incomplete without you. They tried to laugh it off, but the laughter broke, exposing a truth they have been resisting for a long time. They admitted that no matter how far they walk, your energy follows them, reminding them of what they risk losing forever. Pay attention, because this is where the revelation deepens. Their brother asked a question that struck directly at the heart, and your person went silent before answering. In that pause lived fear, longing, and regret all at once. They confessed that they are torn between what feels safe and what feels real, and you are the reality they cannot ignore. They spoke about choices they delayed, words they rehearsed but never delivered, and moments when they almost reached out to you but stopped at the last second. This inner conflict is heavier than you realize, and it is shaping every decision they make right now. Now understand this carefully, because heaven does not reveal such moments without purpose. What shook the heavens was not just what they said, but how deeply it came from the soul. They admitted to their brother that losing you would be the greatest mistake of their life, one they fear may already be unfolding. They acknowledged that you see through them more clearly than anyone else, and that scares them because truth demands courage. These words were not spoken lightly, they were released because the burden had become too heavy to carry alone. Finally, receive this message with clarity and strength. This conversation was allowed to happen so you would understand your value, even in silence. You were never forgotten, never insignificant, and never easily replaced. What was said today has already begun shifting events behind the scenes, and the emotional ground beneath your person is no longer stable. Archangel Michael says, remain steady, because when truths are spoken aloud, they set powerful movements into motion, and what comes next will reveal just how deeply your presence truly matters. My beloved child, what followed after that conversation did not end with words, it continued in silence, and that silence spoke even louder. After speaking to their brother, your person withdrew into themselves, replaying every sentence again and again. The weight of what they revealed began to settle, and they realized they had crossed a point of no return. Heaven noticed how their heart raced, not from fear of exposure, but from the realization that the truth had finally stepped outside their control. Understand this now, because their brother did not respond the way your person expected. Instead of judgment, there was understanding, and that shook them deeply. Their brother reminded them that some connections are not accidental, that some people enter your life to awaken what you tried to bury. Hearing your name spoken with respect and seriousness forced your person to confront something they have been avoiding for a long time. In that moment, they saw you not as a chapter to close, but as a turning point they never truly walked away from. Listen carefully, because this is where emotions intensified. Alone later, your person admitted to themselves what they could barely say out loud. They acknowledged that you brought clarity where there was confusion, and honesty where they were used to pretending. Memories surfaced unexpectedly, moments that felt small back then but now carried immense meaning. They realized that no matter how they distract themselves, your presence lives quietly in their thoughts, steady and unshaken. Now receive this truth, because heaven does not whisper without intention. Your person feels exposed, not because others know, but because they finally know themselves. The words spoken today unlocked emotions they cannot ignore anymore. They are standing at a crossroads, aware that continuing the same path will only deepen their regret. This awareness is uncomfortable, yet necessary, because transformation begins where comfort ends. Archangel Michael says, remain grounded and observant, because unseen shifts are already unfolding. What was confessed today has begun softening walls that once felt permanent. You are not required to chase, explain, or force anything. The truth has been released, and it will now move at its own pace. Stay aligned with your strength, because when hearts speak honestly, outcomes change in ways that cannot be undone. My beloved child, as the hours passed, the energy around your person continued to shift in subtle yet undeniable ways. They found themselves distracted, staring into nothing, feeling the pull of thoughts they could no longer suppress. Even ordinary moments carried an unusual heaviness, as if the universe itself was reminding them of what they had spoken aloud. Your name echoed in their mind, not as a memory, but as a living presence that refused to fade. Consider this carefully, because reflection began to turn into realization. They started questioning their own choices, not with anger, but with honesty they had avoided before. In quiet moments, they acknowledged how much they underestimated your importance, assuming time would dull the connection. Instead, time sharpened it. They understood now that some bonds do not weaken with distance, they wait patiently for recognition. Notice this truth, because emotions rarely surface without reason. Your person felt a sense of vulnerability they are not accustomed to, a feeling that comes when control slips away. They realized that pretending strength had cost them authenticity, and you were the one person who always sensed that difference. This awareness did not bring peace immediately, but it brought clarity, and clarity changes everything. Be aware, because heaven is attentive to inner movements. The conversation with their brother acted as a mirror, reflecting feelings they could no longer deny. They recognized that you represent honesty, growth, and a version of themselves they have yet to fully embrace. This understanding has begun to dissolve old fears, even if they do not yet know how to act on it. Archangel Michael says, remain calm and confident, because this unfolding is not random. You are witnessing the effect of truth spoken without filters. What is meant to align will do so naturally, without force or urgency. Stand firm in your worth, for when realizations take root in the heart, they guide the next steps with quiet certainty. My beloved child, the night brought no rest to their thoughts, only deeper awareness. In the quiet hours, when distractions faded, your presence became undeniable. They realized that the conversation with their brother had opened something they could not close again. Feelings they once postponed now demanded attention, not loudly, but persistently, like a truth tapping from within. Heaven observed how their hearts softened, not in weakness, but in recognition of something real they had tried to outrun. Understand this clearly, because reflection soon turned into emotional accountability. They began to admit to themselves that what they feel for you is not confusion, but significance. They saw how they measured others against you without realizing it, how no connection felt complete in the same way. This realization did not bring instant courage, but it removed denial. Once denial fades, the heart starts telling its own story without permission. Pay close attention, because something subtle yet powerful happened next. They imagined a future without addressing what they feel for you, and the emptiness of that vision unsettled them. It became clear that silence was costing them more than honesty ever could. They understood that avoiding truth does not protect peace, it delays it. This awareness settled deeply, changing how they now view time, distance, and choice. Notice this shift, because heaven marks moments like these. Your person is no longer unaware, they are simply deciding how brave they are willing to be. The words spoken to their brother became a seed, and that seed is growing into intention. Even if you cannot see it yet, their inner world is rearranging itself around what you represent. Archangel Michael says, "Remain steady and self-assured, because this is not the end of the revelation, but the strengthening of it. You were never meant to prove your worth through effort or explanation. Truth has already spoken on your behalf. What unfolds next will come from realization, not pressure, and when the heart accepts what it cannot deny, movement follows naturally." My beloved child, as a new day unfolded, your person carried the weight of yesterday into the light of awareness. Simple routines felt altered, as if something invisible had shifted their inner balance. They caught themselves almost reaching out, stopping midway, then breathing deeply as emotions rose unexpectedly. Heaven saw how they struggled between habit and honesty, realizing that what was once buried had now risen too close to the surface to ignore. Recognize this moment, because clarity began replacing confusion. They started to see you not as a complication, but as a truth they delayed acknowledging. In quiet reflections, they admitted that you were never asking for more than sincerity, and that realization humbled them. The brothers' words echoed again, reminding them that some connections demand courage, not comfort, and that running only postpones the inevitable encounter with truth. Observe this carefully, because intention is forming beneath the surface. Your person began imagining what it would feel like to finally speak openly, without fear of consequence. This thought brought both relief and nervousness, a sign that something meaningful is at stake. They understood that silence had protected their ego, but honesty would protect their soul, and that difference mattered more than they once believed. Take note, because inner resistance slowly softened. They realized that time is not endless, and neither are genuine chances. Thoughts of you no longer brought tension alone, but a strange sense of hope, the kind that unsettles yet inspires. This emotional shift is not dramatic on the outside, but it is profound within, changing how they now perceive connection, responsibility, and truth. Archangel Michael says, "Remain patient and grounded, for what is awakening cannot be forced nor stopped." You are witnessing the result of truth spoken aloud and received with sincerity. Trust that what aligns with honesty will move forward in divine timing. Stand firm in your peace, because when hearts prepare themselves for truth, the path ahead begins to reveal itself naturally. My beloved child, as the inner tension continued to build, your person began to sense that avoidance was no longer an option. Every quiet moment nudged them closer to self-awareness, and every distraction failed to silence what had awakened. Heaven observed how they carried your presence with them throughout the day, not as a burden, but as a truth asking to be honored. What once felt distant now felt immediate, and that realization changed the rhythm of their thoughts. Notice this carefully, because responsibility started replacing hesitation. They acknowledged that what they feel is not something to escape, but something to face with maturity. In their heart, they admitted that you deserved clarity, not confusion, sincerity, not half-answers. This awareness did not come from pressure, but from conscience, and conscience speaks only when the soul is ready to listen. Be aware of this shift, because intention began transforming into resolve. They started rehearsing conversations in their mind, not out of fear, but out of a desire to finally be truthful. The idea of speaking honestly no longer felt threatening, but necessary. They understood that unspoken truths create distance, while expressed truths create possibility, and that difference weighed heavily on them. Understand this moment, because heaven marks such transitions quietly. Your person realized that continuing in silence would only deepen inner unrest, while honesty could bring alignment, regardless of outcome. This realization brought a calm determination, a sign that growth was taking place beneath the surface. You were no longer just a thought, you became a catalyst for change. Archangel Michael says, "Remain composed and confident, for this unfolding is guided, not random." You are not required to push or demand anything. Truth has already begun its work, softening fear and strengthening awareness. Trust that what is meant to be addressed will surface in the right moment, because when the heart chooses honesty, the path forward becomes clear. My beloved child, the emotional weight your person carries is now transforming into awareness they cannot dismiss. They have begun to recognize patterns in their own behavior, moments where they chose distance instead of truth. Heaven sees how this realization humbles them, not with shame, but with understanding. They are slowly accepting that avoiding what matters most has only delayed the peace they seek. Pay attention here, because their heart is now questioning old justifications. They see clearly that excuses once used to protect themselves no longer feel valid. Thoughts of you now bring reflection instead of resistance, and that change is significant. They realize that genuine connections are rare, and losing one through silence would be a regret that follows them longer than fear ever could. Observe this carefully, because emotional honesty is beginning to feel safer than emotional avoidance. They are learning that vulnerability is not weakness, but alignment with truth. This understanding is reshaping how they see you, not as someone who unsettles their life, but as someone who reveals it. That realization carries both weight and purpose. Understand this stage, because inner courage grows quietly. They are preparing themselves mentally and emotionally to act with integrity rather than impulse. Even if you cannot see it yet, their mindset has shifted from delay to decision. This is not rushed movement, but deliberate readiness, guided by clarity rather than confusion. Archangel Michael says, remain centered and assured, because what is unfolding is rooted in truth. You are not forgotten, overlooked, or misunderstood by heaven. The words spoken earlier have already altered the course of events. Stay aligned with peace, because when awareness matures into intention, the next step reveals itself without force or fear. My beloved child, the awareness growing within your person is now steady and undeniable. They are no longer wrestling with confusion, but sitting with clarity, allowing it to settle into their heart. Heaven watches as they pause more often, choosing reflection over reaction, realizing that some truths deserve patience and respect. Your presence has become a quiet anchor in their thoughts, reminding them of sincerity they once overlooked. Notice this progression, because acceptance is taking shape. They have stopped questioning whether their feelings are real and started acknowledging what those feelings mean. In doing so, they recognize how much they valued your honesty, your steadiness, and the way you mirrored truths they struggled to face. This recognition carries depth, because it reveals how deeply your influence reached without force or demand. Understand this carefully, because intention is now aligning with integrity. They are becoming aware that timing matters, but so does courage. The desire to approach things honestly is stronger than the comfort of staying silent. This internal balance is new for them, and it signals growth that cannot be reversed. You are no longer part of an unresolved past, you are part of a conscious present. Be aware of this moment, because readiness does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it appears as calm resolve, as the quiet decision to act with authenticity. Your person is preparing themselves emotionally, not to control outcomes, but to honor truth. This shift is subtle, yet powerful, and it is guided by awareness rather than fear. Archangel Michael says, remain grounded in your own peace, for what is unfolding is guided by sincerity. You do not need to question your worth or your impact. The truth spoken has already shaped the path ahead. Trust that when clarity leads, actions follow naturally, and what aligns with honesty will move forward in the right time and the right way.